It's better be early than late.
Please?
Ja, jonger.
Ik dacht even dat ik er ben, dan kunnen we weer.
Heb jij het nog niet?
Nee, fijn.
Hallo.
Goedemorgen. Ik sta hier in een van de journalistenkamers van het NSS 2014 in Den Haag, waar vandaag Obama en Rutte en vele wereldleiders komen om te praten over de nucleaire situatie in de wereld. Om wapens te verminderen en ervoor te zorgen dat we wereldwijd meer controle kunnen hebben over chemische afval en chemische middelen die we gebruiken om energie te wekken. En hier ga ik een reportage maken voor op YouTube. I'm in one of the journalistic rooms where all the journalists can put their laptops and make works for the NSS 2014. And I'm going to make a reputation for GODOGOOD International.
De grote, in het atrium.
Oké, dus 11:15 pas hier.
Ja.
counterterrorism and security, and I was responsible for setting up the exercise, taking the final responsibility.
Tell us about it.
Well, it was a success, obviously, because it was also our sixth exercise in a row that started in 2009, but I will talk about the 2009 exercise. As a part of our senior learning program, we finalized in December last year. And this was the best and the biggest.
Why? I mean, biggest, but why was it the best?
Well, all the experiences of the previous period came together in preparation and execution of this exercise. And everything went very smooth. We achieved all the exercise goals that we have set before. Not only ourselves, but together with our international partners.
What were the goals?
Well, there are several goals. I think my colleague will go into it more in detail, but for me the most important one was building a trusted community or enhancing the trusted community. Because trust is an essential part of information sharing. Without trust, there are only procedures. But with trust, there's really a change of information.
Okay, yes, please.
First of all, my name is Stijn Gabeler. I'm the project officer who had the honor of actually working on the exercise for a full year. Apart from the main goal that Rob just mentioned, the second goal would be improving international and national cooperation. Of course, improving international cooperation is one of the main goals of the NSS itself. We try to achieve that by enabling countries. We have 30 playing country teams, enabling them to engage in bilateral contact, but also improve their relation to a couple of international organizations that are quite important in this field, such as the IAEA, Interpol, Europol. But also national cooperation, which means in the exercise we focus on a couple of core disciplines, being, of course, radiological and nuclear security, cybersecurity as well, public communication, emergency management, forensics, and law enforcement, of course. And what we try to achieve is to have the people that are taking part in the exercise find their brethren, so to speak, from these fields of expertise, and again, helping to build trusted communities around these subjects, and also improving their own understanding of their own disciplines, but also other disciplines, enabling these various fields within one country and internationally to work together more closely, more effectively. And linking to that is the general enhancing of knowledge and awareness of not only the threat of nuclear terrorism, but also cybersecurity threats, and also the value of public communication, and also international arrangements on this particular field.
Can you give a specific example where they were able, within this game, where they actually succeeded in building that trust and bringing about better cooperation?
That's actually a good question. I think the actual results are long-term results. What you do hear from people or participants in the exercises is that they feel they've met a lot of new people, exchanged business cards, which, as simple as it may sound, is very important. And,
They haven't talked before, right?
they haven't talked before, they talked for the first time. They've just engaged in an exercise with each other, meaning that they've been actively engaged with the scenario for somewhere between 9 and 10 hours. So somewhere there they've had to exchange information, listen to each other's point of views, and also finding out that, for instance, there's a special expertise within one country team that they want to learn more about. There were various instances where we learned this, and above all, we had 30 playing countries, which is really quite a large number, and also made sure we had to make quite a complex exercise. I think there were about 20,000 sheets of paper handed out during the exercise. So yeah, all that made together made for quite some distance.
And they came from all over the world, right? This is not just Western Europe or developed countries, it's all over the place.
Yes, all over the place. USA, Germany, Zambia, to name a
And within this exercise, the special thing regarding the relation between cybersecurity and nuclear security is it's rather new. Cyber is a new domain. We know land, sea, water, space. The cyber domain, which is borderless, is really the new kid on the block. During this exercise, we started in 2012, the 2012 exercise, we decided as a national coordinator to introduce some element of cybersecurity within a nuclear exercise. It remains a nuclear exercise, but introducing this new field of expertise means that people will have to communicate. Well, they will have to find each other, know which language they talk. It might seem rather simple, but it's not. In the first edition, we decided that we evaluated, and then it came out that the most important lesson was build trusted communities regarding cyber and nuclear people. Wow. Well, any cybersecurity incident might have a physical impact. It's not only on nuclear, it might be everywhere. It can be a rather small incident within an airport or elsewhere, which can have an effect on let's say, nuclear people. And to decide what that impact is, people need to communicate. And then I was very happy I did it in 2012. 2014 was asked to join the club again. And we did it another time, and now this time the result was we have a trusted community, but we have got to strengthen it. Well, that's already a good result. And I think that during the exercise we had an expert group, which was happy. I was so happy to demonstrate the Dutch example based on our cybersecurity strategy of public-private cooperation in this field. We had a couple of people working for private parties, explaining countries from all over the world how to handle cybersecurity incidents. Even in my one, we had public people, and they were doing it in close cooperation. So I think it was a very clear example to demonstrate, let's say, the Dutch way to all those countries. The feedback we've had from those countries was very positive.
I thought, I mean, who started this and why? This could be done anywhere. This is typically something I'm not sure. What is it?
Public private?
No, I mean, this whole scenario again, I mean, you guys came up with the idea, you actually executed it, and you know, played it 6 times in a row. Like, do you consider it playing in a way, in a good way?
Well, I don't know whether it's typical Dutch. However, dealing with CBRN as an issue, already lost. Yeah, it's an international subject. Countering terrorism is an international subject. So you can, of course, take a look at your national initiatives and your national performance in preventing attack with any means. But to do it well and to do it at the end of the day really effective, you have to do it in the international context. So as a part of our CBRN, we address also the international aspect, not only in entering bilateral, multilateral, international agreements and so on, but also in bringing those procedures and agreements alive. And an exercise or a scenario-based discussion, whatever you call it, is the best way, or the most effective way to do so. For that reason, we took the initiative in 2008 decision to organize under the GSIN umbrella. GSIN stands for Global Initiative to Combat Nuclear Terrorism, to initiate a global 2005 exercise. And we continue with that series.
Last question before we open the floor for questions. There was a discussion the other day in Washington, D.C. This scenario was mentioned by Renee Jones, top official of the Dutch Foreign Ministry. And somebody said, asked a question about this war game. She said, no, it's not a war game, it's a peace game. Was she right?
Yeah. Because
the war games are popular and
in all those 6 exercises, the main focus was what is called the left of land. So
prevention.
Prevention.
What's the next step? Will there be a follow-up on this game?
Yes, please.
Well, we hope so. As you were able to see in the film, we've organized 6 final statement that our director gave at the end of October 2014 is, we'll gladly assist, but we're inviting the country's president or any country to take it over from us and to organize the next exercise.
Project, so that umbrella isn't there anymore. So we finance also the cities, and we activated the exercise, the authority of the 14 exercise, being one of the official side events of the NSS. We activated it strongly towards the American
A little higher up, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We're here at the Material Security Summit, and as I understand correctly, your expertise on the other gentleman lies mostly in cyber security. So my question is, why is cyber security so important for fighting nuclear terrorism?
Well, I think that's a good question. But I always gave you some kind of an answer. Cybersecurity is everywhere. That means, imagine a world without any computers. Imagine a world without any networks. Data are everywhere. So they are a critical part of any process. That's why we use it within an exercise. Not specifically because there is a specific threat, but more, well, if you know that digital networks are everywhere, they're also in companies we use, for example, in term or within the world surrounding them. So it's very logical to make that step, especially within our Dutch National Coordinator. We've got those different kinds of expertise. We've got people working on the CBRN program. We've got people working for our National Cybersecurity Center. So then let's even make a step on make a next step.
And this,
Will be a question to intelligence services. But when
NSA is tracking you, I guess.
With the number of Google searches, I will be surprised to find someone who is able to give an answer on every search on Google. So I think not. And I think you'll find a lot of cartoons also.
Anybody else? Yes. Picture, please.
Hello. I just wondered if you had any consideration of state actors as proliferators of rogue nuclear material in any of the exercises that you guys have undertaken?
quick thinking, because I have to go back to stick scenarios. No, not in the way you are putting your question. However, with nations or delegations from nations as players, yes, we do have nations that are have a role or have a part in the scenario, but that's not a rogue state scenario with that loses or sells or whatever, do something bad with on purpose with nuclear materials. No, we haven't had that in all the scenarios, so not only in the radiological nuclear scenarios, but also in the bio and chemical scenarios.
And then for the public communications, we also added social media into the mix. So there were social media-like messages, and the countries could also send their own messages. Plus, we had a press statement room where people were invited and more or less nudged towards giving press statements at some point in the scenario, which really took on speed during the exercise. But every year, for a couple of years now, we've seen that if we don't emphasize it in this way as an organization, people, quite a number of countries will more or less forget or not give it the value that it has in solving the puzzle or as being an integral part of its solution. So
Because they're too much inward looking or something. Is that what it is? I mean, you guys are experts and very much involved in what you do, and you're not like us as journalists. I mean, you tend to bring everything out of you.
It's sort of an automatic focus on the technical solution of making the actual threat go away. And of course, if you're a country government, there's some information coming out. It could be the right information, it could be false information, it could be contradictory information. So you have to act, actually, to, it should be part of the crisis, it's our firm belief. And that's what we've been addressing over and over again in these exercises. So yeah, that's one of the, that's an answer to your question.
Would it be fair to say?
And really to get the bad guys or the bad girls. And again, that is, looking back, that happened during the periods that we organized these exercises during the summer. And I hope that it always goes when a real incident is at this scale. That this positive attitude, this professional attitude in terms of trying to prevent something bad, that will also be
Talk a little bit, you talked about left of the bank and right of the bank. Left of the bank, you still have the luxury of at least hoping it doesn't happen. Then right of the bank, it happened. I mean, the explosion was there, you tackled it. Talk a little bit about the difference in the, I can imagine, the dynamics of your groups, left or right of the bank. Because I mean, then right of the bank, there's so much urgency, no time to lose, and huge effects on public opinion, people getting scared and everything. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, actually, you're absolutely right. The way we organize it, we have 4 rounds. The first 3 rounds, so that's about 7 hours of exercise time, are left of the bank. Our turn-based rounds, where people actually are given time within the structure of the exercises to read all the materials, which is given to them all at the beginning. They give a short video that they read through the projects, some of which are general, some of which are country specific. They start working, they get advice, they come back, they hand in their final report, and they go on to the next round. So, as you say, there's more calm and more room for thinking how best to perform. And then the bank came between round 3 and 4, round 4 being the final round, which we organized as a real-time round, meaning that things speed up and they become a pressure cooker. And what you would see is actually people running around and people lining up.
Actually, I mean, they really...
Physically.
Oh, really?
Yes. And people lining up for the press statements, because of course that's when you get when something happens in your country or in your neighboring country, or happens full stop when it involves radiological and nuclear materials. People get scared, get potentially scared. You want to make sure as a country that you give out the right information at the right time, more or less. So that's actually the main difference in what we experienced as exercise organization.
You guys did not prevent the bank.
We planned the bank.
Yes.
We've seen countries or players running into my SB group and shouting, "What can I do? What do you got? You got what kind of information?" And then we can discuss.
Maar deze denk ik wel fijn. Deze denk ik wel.
little IFB. Will that work for you?
Anh có thể sang bên trái qua một tí thôi, bên trái qua một tí thế thôi. Khi nào có người là sẽ đóng. Mua cho em cái tóc này đi.
Chạy luôn.
Cái đỉnh đầu.
Chạy luôn. Chạy.
Này lên phía trước.
Có thể, có thể.
There's no one here at the camera. Wow, okay, good. All right, thanks.
Just say something to be sure for the sound.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Guy, are you Dutch?
No.
Hey, what's up, Flavio? How do I say the name of the Prime Minister? Groot?
Ja. 2000.
لا خالد مرحبا. رياض خالد. Мне кажется, без вариантов. Потом да, после Егора.
Volgens mij wel, ik ken zijn naam niet.
Sensitive materials for nuclear weapons or otherwise, but there's also sabotage of facilities, sabotage of materials, disposal of radioactive materials, etc. And in 2005, the Board of Governors decided to start a nuclear security series, something similar, more or less, parallel to safety, to more guide countries in the world that have a nuclear program on the security, both sabotage and theft. Well, as you know, there was a convention for physical protection of nuclear materials years. That was amended in 2005. One of the first things that this convention says is that the responsibility for nuclear security and physical protection is the responsibility of the state and the state alone. And this makes that everything we do in the framework of the IAEA are non-binding documents. State can do whatever they helped actually to get into those documents, but they have no application. So if I talk about a step forward, then you see now a leading group of countries within the NSS, and it's not an easy step because it's a lot of work and probably a lot of money involved to commit to those things that we made together in Vienna, the coordination of the recommendation documents, the fundamental principles, etc. Commit to them and put them in the national regulations, which means that you can see that those countries have done that, because that's not only public information. On top of that, we don't want paper tigers in the world, so actually there is a second commitment for self-assessment on one hand and assessments by peer reviews of international experts in countries. So that is to ensure that all the recommendations are implemented effectively, that we are really doing what we are supposed to protect the nuclear materials in the facility.
Talk a little bit more about that challenge. Secretary John?
Yes, hello.
Introduce yourself and what's your introduction to this?
Yes, well, I'm Jonathan Herbach. I'm a researcher in international law at Utrecht University in the Netherlands. And I've been involved for the past 2 years, about 2 years, working with the Netherlands Ministry of Foreign Affairs to provide some advice on the international legal issues for nuclear security. So nuclear security is my area of research. So I'm here essentially to kind of talk also about what Bart just mentioned, how the obligations can best be put into practice by states, and that states can be held accountable for putting these rules into practice.
By the way, we talk a little bit about it. It's quite a challenge, right? We need to come from the local people who really don't mind to actually
It is a challenge, and there are legally binding obligations in place, but they have quite obvious gaps, which is why, on one hand, it's one of the reasons for developing this nuclear security series, these recommendations. Part of it is to fill in these gaps that exist. So states committing to implementing these recommendations would create a much more comprehensive picture, whereas the legally binding obligations leave a lot of room for materials that are susceptible to be used for malicious purposes, but are not covered in these legally binding documents. So it's very important that these non-legally binding instruments work together with the legally binding instruments, and then eventually more law is developed to hold states accountable for nuclear security.
I'm a researcher at the Center for Non-Proliferation Studies at the Monterey Institute of International Studies in the U.S. I also co-chair an international coalition of more than 80 organizations called the Fissile Material Working Group, which brings together all these groups that are interested in trying to do something about the security of fissile materials, which are highly enriched uranium and plutonium. That is, materials that could be used in nuclear weapons.
So what would you add to that?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Art and the whole team from the Netherlands. I think they've really done an exceptional job with hosting this summit. Maybe a small country, you've accomplished quite a bit. And
small country, big ambition.
Exactly. And I think this initiative in particular is a real step forward, because we've had very broad, the binding law here has been very broad and not accepted by a lot of countries, frankly, including my own, which is not yet ratified with nuclear treaties. And if you think about other areas of international security questions that we all face, such as aviation, there's much more detailed rules and recommendations that everyone has to abide by. That's really what we need to get to. It's much harder to get on a plane in some
some examples of nuclear security not being perfectly in place. Let's say that the chances that something happens, that half of the material is stolen, somebody is able to make it wrong, are very slim. But imagine what the effect would be if they succeed. So actually, the consequences are so large that we have to take this into account and make sure that this is not going to happen. Any other things like sabotage and material are more local, of course, but if you expose it to a weapon, you must or maybe more cities in the world, we change our lives forever. The other thing is, I think that doing this is very good because countries are now looking at global warming. You see that it's needed by a lot of countries, certainly the upcoming companies. So we want to be sure that something like Fukushima, which had natural causes, doesn't happen caused by terrorists or insiders, malicious purposes, etc. Because also that will take away the confidence of the world public in nuclear energy. Well, we know we don't have much of it in the Netherlands, but we know that it is needed still. That wind and solar, etc., cannot replace coal. It's very bad, as you know.
So you would agree with the President about this also in the future?
Well, yes. If you look at the consequences, then the President is correct.
Because some people say you have to balance out the fact you said it's a slim chance that they will succeed, terrorists or people who will. There's a slim chance that they will ever succeed in doing it if to balance out, with the effort to put into, to prevent it.
What needs to be done, which is basically secure the materials, to minimize them where possible, and to improve communication in the global system governing those materials that are in place. So rather than getting endless academic debates about is the threat immediate or is it extreme, let's just do what we need to do.
Just do it, thank you. But I mean, when you talk about securing the material, you're almost suggesting that it is an easy task or at least a feasible thing to do, is it?
Yes, I mean, we've already made significant progress, partly through this whole process, in minimizing and securing materials. And a lot of the materials we don't actually need in the world anymore. They were used, for instance, in research reactors, used highly enriched uranium years ago, and there's now ways you can do that with safer, low-enriched uranium, the kind of uranium we use in nuclear power plants. There's a lot of radiological materials that are used in medicine that we can find alternatives to that are safer, like X-rays. And so, if we work together, we can minimize the problem. In those places that need security, we can put the security on. But we need this is a global effort and needs some global cooperation to do that.
Yeah, of course, but I mean, again, the feasibility of this whole thing, particularly if you take into consideration that we have a lot of state players but increasingly not state, players in this whole, I would say, game, I mean, how risky is that, and how much harder does that make the ultimate goal to make a safer place and guard this material?
Well, ultimately, these materials are in states. States can take the steps to put in place sufficient security measures and regulations, ensure that non-state actors don't get to them. What it really takes is political will on the parts of the governments involved, and I think the initiative Bart talked about was an example of that. This is all they've really committed to in a way are things that everyone knew were kind of the right things to do, or at least steps in the right direction that the International Atomic Energy Agency and other people have put out there as sort of technical recommendations, but a lot of states hadn't.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'm Jonathan with Bloomberg News. You're discussing issues of nuclear security in a material sense.